Well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. I think it's important that we all get together and share our thoughts on issues. So I appreciate very much all of you helping put this on, for all of you that attended. For me, I think the number one priority this year obviously has to be the economy and jobs locally. We're having a hard time. I've been the executive director for the Realtors Association for the last several years, and if anybody's felt the downturn in the markets and the struggle that people are having to run their businesses and be successful and take care of their families, certainly we felt it in our association, and we've seen it throughout Forsyth County. It's very important that the legislature continue to work to try to streamline budgets, to look toward over-regulation and burdensome requirements on businesses so that businesses can be free to expand and hire. And we've made some good progress, I think, so far, but we've got a lot of work to do as we move forward.
Thank you, Chris. I think the number one focus is really the same issue that drove me into office back in 1994, and that was the jobs and the economy and having a pro-growth philosophy. I don't like tax increases, and that goes hand in hand with how successful the business community is going to be. As we all know, it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem, and we need to lower that corporate tax rate, reduce some of the regulations so that we can grow these businesses and get jobs. That's the number one focus in the 74th and across this entire nation.
I agree entirely. Jobs and job creation and the economy is our number one priority. To do that, we've got to reduce the corporate tax rate so we can invite more businesses into North Carolina and be more competitive with the states in the Southeast. We need to take the burden of regulations off our small businesses. We did, in the past session, pass a bill that gives the first $50,000 off of small businesses, and that's a step in the right direction.
Don't know that I have much to add. It's very important, and we've seen it here locally quite a bit with excessive regulation and compliance problems. Really our number one issue right now, prohibiting companies from growing, and we need to continue to do some of the things we've done at the chamber and some of the things that we did in the legislature last year. Get out and meet with businesses and hear directly from businesses what the problems are, what's limiting their growth and their ability to hire. I think we need to make sure we're focusing on that.
The best tool to bring businesses here is to lower the corporate tax rate. Over the next 5 to 10 years, we are going to start seeing manufacturing plants come back here because wages are going up in China, and for goods destined for U.S. consumers, they're going to start coming back to the Southeast, and we need to position North Carolina as the number one state with lower corporate tax rate, lower personal tax rate. We need to have a workforce training program. We need to decide whether we want a superport. We need to repair our bridges and roads, and we need to make North Carolina the number one state for businesses to relocate their manufacturing plants.
The biggest disadvantage North Carolina has right now is the corporate tax rate and the regulation burden on any new company wishing to come here. In my opinion, we should have made our ports enlarged. We would not have lost the last Caterpillar plant had they been able to service ships in a deep port. We should learn from that. We should make our ports accessible for foreign businesses so we can export some of our goods, primarily agriculture businesses, and those are the types of things that we need to do to encourage business to come to North Carolina. Reduce the rates, make us more competitive in the Southeast, and we'll acquire those industries.
One of the things that we did over the last 2 years, I mentioned it earlier, was at the Chamber of Commerce we began having hearing sessions where we would ask small businesses to come in and tell us what their problems are. I think sometimes as elected officials we tend to think we know the answers and we may not really know what the questions are. We heard the corporate tax rate was an issue for recruiting businesses, but we also heard that overregulation and compliance issues still tend to be the number one problem for businesses that are operating and need to expand what they're doing and be able to hire people. So I think we need to make sure we're continuing to have dialogue as we go forward. We do not need to be raising taxes. I am concerned with basically the growth of incentives, how we tend to pick winners and losers as to who we give incentives to. If we are going to have incentives to attract businesses, I think they need to be consistently applied throughout the state, regardless of the size of the company.
Yes, I'm a small business owner myself. I'm president of Conrad Marketing Specialist. So What I have done over the last 18 years, both as a business owner and elected officials, is you've got to listen. Republicans listen to what it takes to make businesses successful. I've represented the county on the Chamber of Commerce for 17 consecutive years, director of Novon Health, director of Winston-Salem Business Inc., former member of the Regional Film Commission. I believe put a lot of eggs in the basket. We need every industry we can get to make North Carolina successful. And I have been listening for 18 years. Thank you.
I think I've worked the last 7.5 years on annexation reform. And probably nobody in the General Assembly has worked any harder than I have to get annexation reform passed. I spoke on just about every bill while the Democrats was in control, stand up and argue against annexation and for reforming annexation. I'm a property rights person, and I certainly stand up for anybody to have their own rights to their own property.
You still have 30 seconds if you want.
Okay.
Well, you have more time. I just want to make sure.
Okay, I introduced actually a annexation reform bill. My bill wasn't heard, a different one was, but I'm stand up for eminent domain protection such as a kilo, and we're going to very soon pass that in North Carolina. Thank you.
I agree that involuntary annexation is basically a travesty toward personal property rights. It's unbelievable to me that you can be a property owner, paying your taxes, minding your own business, doing what you're allowed to do on your own property, and then receive a letter telling you you're being annexed or you're losing your rights. A great example of that, frankly, has been the delay of the completion of the Outer Belt Line, where we have had properties tied up for years and years and years and years through the state's right to designate it as a proposed corridor. There are probably some of you in here now that are struggling with being able to do anything with your property because proposed roadways have limited your ability to either get financing to sell, to even in some cases do improvements to your property because someone drew a line across your property that said you no longer have complete rights for your own decisions on properties. And through the Realtors Association and activities there and at the Chamber too, we've worked very hard to try to stand up for property rights and make sure that your rights as a property owner are infringed.
Thank you. I've always been completely against, I call it forced annexation. I've been a county commissioner since 1994, and a lot of people will call us up saying, why can't you block it? Believe me, every county commissioner in the state would if they could, because when a city annexes, it takes sales tax revenue away from counties and makes it harder for us to do the important services that we're supposed to do. We did pass unanimously a resolution 6 years ago supporting the work of the members of the State House who wanted to stop forced annexation. So I certainly do support it, and we did what we could at the local level to cheer on those at the State House level in order to correct this travesty. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think that any citizen outside of a city right now has to worry probably for 10 years whether they're going to be annexed, because the law was passed so stringent that it make it financially impossible just about for most cities in the state of North Carolina to go out and annex, because they not only have to provide the water and sewer, fire and police, they have to run the water lines from the street to individual homes. So I was the leader in annexation reform.
I am a proponent of your right to carry. I like concealed carry. I think it's important. The most important thing, I think, is to make sure that if you petition, file an application to receive your weapon, that you know how to use it, that you have the right to carry it with you in accordance with the law. And I don't know how I feel about restaurants. I did support the efforts to allow it in public parks, because again, I think it's important that we have the right to bear arms. I don't think we should restrict that.
Thank you. In case you don't know, in the last long session of the state legislature, they did pass a bill that allows people with concealed carry weapons to carry them in the parks. I would not have supported the loophole. I was not there to know if it was necessary to get the votes to pass, but I think the loophole has created a patchwork across North Carolina. If the purpose was to have a uniform law, then the loophole should not have been here. I am on record when it came before Forsyth County, we upheld the state law. In Forsyth County parks, you are now allowed to carry your concealed carry weapons, and we even expanded it further so that if you come to any government building, you do not have to drop off your weapon at home on the way. You can leave it locked in your vehicle or whatever vehicle you're riding in if it is with a friend. So hopefully if I do get the chance and they revisit that loophole, I think it was a mistake and I would not have supported it had I been in the State House when they reviewed this bill. Thank you.
I'm fully supportive of the bill. I think it was a good bill. I think we should clear up the loophole. I think anyone who has a legal right to carry a concealed weapon should be able to carry it in parks and in restaurants. I'm very much supportive of the bill and would like to clear up the loophole when we return.
The reason, one thing I would touch on is the reason I'm not so sure about the restaurants is you're dealing with a different situation there where you as a property owner, as a business operator, you probably should have some say-so in whether or not someone could come into your place of business with a weapon or not. I support the rights of businesses to be able to make those types of decisions, so I think we need to have further dialogue about whether or not being forced to allow weapons within your business is something that the law should step in about.